ሰላም እንዴት ናችሁ? ዛሬ ChatGPT እንደምንጠቀምበት እንደ አንድ SQL ዲቨሎፐር ChatGPT እንደ አጋዥ ተጠቅመን የምንሰራቸውን ስራዎች በፍጥነት እንዴት እንደምንጨርስ ለማየት እንሞክራለን። በChatGPT ዳታቤዝ ክሬት እንዴት እንደምናደርግ እናያለን። ኩዌሪዎችን እንዴት በፍጥነት መጻፍ እንደምንችል እናያለን። debugging SQL queries አንዳንድ ጊዜ የማይሰራ SQL ካለን ChatGPTን እንዲያግዘን እንዴት እንደምንጠይቀው እሱን እናያለን። ኩዌሪ በጣም ስሎውሊ ረን የሚያደርግ ኩዌሪ ካለን እንዴት ኦፕቲማይዝ እንደምናደርግ እንዴት ሰጀሽን ከChatGPT እንዴት እንደምናገኝ ለማየት እንሞክራለን። generating test data አንዳንድ ጊዜ locally like a proof of concept ሊሆን ይችላል። ሳምፕል ዴታ ከፈለግን እንዴት ሪኩዌስት እንደምናደርግ እሱን እናያለን። አንዳንድ ጊዜ ኮምፕሌክስ የሆኑ ኩዌሪዎች ይኖራሉ። እኛ ያልጻፍነው ወይም በድሮ ጊዜ የተጻፉ ሊሆን ይችላል። አስቸጋሪ ከሆነ አንደርስታንድ ለማድረግ we can ask ChatGPT explain እንዲያደርግልን እንዴት እንደምንጠይቀው እሱን እናያለን። learning and upskilling ChatGPTን እንዴት ቤስት ፕራክቲሶች እንዴት ማግኘት እንደምንችል about SQL performance tips ቤስት ፕራክቲስስ ስታንዳርዶችን እና ChatGPTን ለፐርሰናል ቱቶር መጠቀም እንችላለን። document SQL code using ChatGPT ዶክመንቴሽኖችን about SQL or views እንዴት መስራት እንደምንችል እንዴት እንደምንጠይቀው እሱን እናያለን። tips for better results ChatGPTን ስፔሲፊክ የሆነ ጥያቄ ስንጠይቀው የተሻለ መልሶች እናገኛለን። ለምሳሌ SQL Server ላይ የምትሰሩ ከሆነ SQL Server ላይ እንደዚህ የሚሰራ ነገር እፈልጋለሁ እንደዚህ በSQL Server እንዴት ይሰራል ምናምን ብላችሁ ብትጠይቁት ስለ SQL Server ላይ ፎከስ ያደረገ መልስ ነው የሚሰጣችሁ። ጄነሪክ አይሆንም ማለት አይደለም። ዩዘሩ የፈለገው በSQL ሰርቨር ነው በMySQL ነው በኦራክል ነው የሚለው ዲሲሽን ውስጥ አይገባም። ምክንያቱም ስፔሲፊክ ጥያቄ ነው የጠየቃችሁት። የተሻለ ሪዛልቶች እንዳገኛላችሁ ማለት ነው። አንዳንድ ጊዜ ያጋጠማችሁ ችግር ትልቅ ሊሆን ይችላል። break it down into smaller pieces ከዛ solve that smaller pieces with ChatGPT ከዛ መጨረሻ ላይ ኮምባይን ማድረጉ ይቀላል። የChatGPT ሊሚቴሽኖች እና ዋርኒንግ የእናንተን ዴታቤዝ አክሰስ ማድረግ አይችልም። ኦልዌይስ ቴስት ለማድረግ ሞክሩ ማድረግ አለባችሁ። ChatGPT የሰጣችሁን ኩዌሪ it's not production ready አይደለም። always make sure to test and verify it is working as expected የምትፈልጉትን ስራ እየሰራ እንደሆነ ቴስት እና ቫሊዴት ማድረጋችሁን አትርሱ። ሴንሲቲቭ የሆነ የካምፓኒ ኢንፎርሜሽን ፐርሰናል ኢንፎርሜሽን ChatGPT ላይ ማስገባት ጥሩ አይደለም። ምክንያቱም ዳታችሁ is not safe or secure with ChatGPT እና sensitive information avoid from submitting it into ChatGPT. Okay, ChatGPT chatgpt.com ሳይን አፕ ማድረግ ትችላላችሁ ወይም ሎጊን ማድረግ ይቻላል። አካውንት ኦልሬዲ ካላችሁ ፍሪ ቨርዥንም አለው በየወሩ የምትከፍሉበትም አለው። ያው ልዩነቱ በየወሩ የምትከፍሉበት ከሆነ ሌተስት ChatGPT ኦፈር የሚያደርገው ነገሮች ማግኘት ትችላላችሁ። ግን ፍሪ ቨርዥንም ወርክስ ብዙም ኮምፕሊኬትድ ነገር አይደለም። ለምትሰሩ ስራ በቂ ነው ብዬ አስባለሁ። ስለዚህ መጀመሪያ ChatGPT ፕሮምፕት እናደርገዋለን። ለምሳሌ ኢኮመርስ ዴታቤዝ ክሬት እናደርግ ሰጀስት የሚያደርገን ለምሳሌ ዩዘርስ ፕሮዳክት ካቴጎሪስ ኦርደር አይተምስ ፔይመንት ሺፒንግ ሪቪውስ ኢንቨንቶሪ እያንዳንዱን ቴብል ለየብቻው ክሬት ያደረገልን ነው እዚህ ጋር። ልክ ሲጨርስ አሁን ለምሳሌ የተለያዩ ናቸው ሪዛልቶቹ ማለት ነው። I can say give me the script in as one file, as one script. Give me all the table scripts. So we'll combine it. Then it will become easier. So አሁን እየሰራልኝ ያለው ቴብሎችን ብቻ ነው። create the database and give it based on best practices. So we get to choose e-commerce DB, Shopify DB, Store DB, Online, e-commerce DB. Let's just stick with this one. It's still combined አድርጎልኛል ሁሉም ቴብሎች ማለት ነው። So it makes it easier. Now just እዚህ ጋር ኮፒ አደርገውና and then SQL ላይ ሄጄ new query ከዛ ፔስት አደርገዋለሁ። As you can see ይሄኛው የሰጠኝ እንትን በSQL Server አይመስለኝም። So this can you give me that would work on SQL Server? SQL Server ላይ የሚሰራ query ሰጠኝ አልኩት ማለት ነው። So I'm fixing ያደረገው ነው። So it's important specific መሆን የምፈልገውን ሪዛልት አግኛለሁ። ቀደም የሰጠሁት it's too generic, right? database SQL database create አድርግልኝ አልኩት ለኢኮመርስ ግን ምን ላይ እንደሆነ አልነገርኩትም። ሰው የሰጠኝ እሱ በገመተው SQL ነው አይደል? So SQL Server ላይ ረን ሳደርገው ችግሮች አሉ። አውቶ ኢንክሪመንት እና ምን የሚሉት ነገሮች SQL Server ላይ ይሰራል። So አሁን የሰጠኝ auto increment identity replace አድርጎታል። So this makes more sense ለSQL ማለት ነው። So I'm gonna paste it here. So create ስላልሆነ ነው። I'm gonna just run it. So successfully run አድርጓል። So I'm gonna refresh the database. So it created all the tables. Now I can say write a query that returns the top 10 best seller. No, just one stick. So they got top 10 sellers የሚለውን query create አደረገልኝ ማለት ነው። So I can just run this. So limit የሚል ነገር የለም አሁንም። Okay, so SQL Server adjustment ብሎ ሰርቶልኛል እዚህ ጋር። So because መጀመሪያ ላይ በSQL Server የሚሰራ ብየው ነበረ ዳታቤዙ ማለት ነው። So now it already fixed it. So if I were to run this, now I have this. So I can say, give me a sample data tables, I should say, in the database we just created. So, ለእያንዳንዱ table sample data to create ያደረጋል, which makes it very helpful. Manually እንደዚህ insert ከምናደርግ you can ask SQL ChatGPT to help you run with the scripts, or I can say combine all scripts combine all the insert scripts in one. So it's easier for me, instead of እያንዳንዱ ጋር እየሄድኩኝ ኮፒ ከማድረግ it would be easier if ChatGPT banned for file ላይ ቢሰጠኝ ማለት ነው። So in this case now I can copy and then I can run it. So successfully insert that record. Now if I were to run this, I get the results. For example, look at this query. So there is incorrect syntax near the keyword order. So it's because it's missing this, right? Now, if I were to, then there is no issue. So sometimes, just as in the example, I would say, what is wrong with this query? So I'm expecting that it will give me, yeah, the query you have provided contains a syntax error. Specifically, there is a missing closing parenthesis in the in clause of the where statement. It basically states that እዚህ ጋር ችግር አለበት parenthesis ረስታል ያለ ነው። So let's see. I'm gonna create another issue like this, and then like this, and then I'm gonna create. There are so many problems here. SQL line does a challenge, so I'm gonna give it what is wrong with this query. So the query provided has multiple syntax issues, and then there is a typo in the inner join, right? Inner join, you wrote inner join instead of missing n. Incorrect comparison operator, and SQL comparison should be done using just a single equal sign. Incorrect where condition. You used double greater in the where clause in SQL for greater than compare. You should use only this. Invalid syntax in the in clause. So you used a period instead of comma, inside the in clause, right? So this is a problem. It should be in like this. So it automatically fixed it. Corrected query is like this, right? So if I were to copy this, you'll see the difference. Let me paste it right just below it. So the guy fix አድርጎታል እዚህ ጋር የነበረውን ችግር። So hang on double equal ይህንን remove አድርጎልኛል። ይህንን fix አድርጎታል እዚህ ጋር dot ያደረጉትን አጥፍቶልኛል። So you can see how you can use this how you can use ChatGPT to improve or fix a broken SQL, right? Now, we can ask ChatGPT to optimize a query, right? You can say, this query is slow. Improve the performance. So it says that to improve the performance of the query, we need to focus on reducing the amount of work the database engine has to do. Here are some key areas to optimize, right? Ensure that the indexes on the columns used in the join, where, and order by clauses. Specifically, you should have an index, customer ID index or the join, and an index in the city for filtering by city. So this is the query, right? It is saying customer ID is got join ላይ ስለተጠቀምንበት index create አድርግ ነው የሚለው So we should have an index because CT, because we're using it under where condition, CT should have an index and the CT column with an index of order date for filtering and sorting. So order date and like እዚህ ጋር where condition ላይ ነው sort order ላይ ነው so index create ማለት it will improve the performance so እዚህ ጋር index and create እንደማድረግ ሰጥቶናል so you can just use this to create different indexes on all the columns I suggested ከዛ በኋላ ቴስት ማድረግ ነው is it improving the performance was it not የሚለውን ነገሮች ያው ቴስት ስናደርግ የምናገኛቸው ነገሮች ይሆናሉ Storing the city values in the uppercase is feasible to avoid upper so እዚህ ጋር where condition ላይ ወደ uppercase እየቀየርኩት ያለው so what it's saying is look database ላይ insert now or update now we just need to change it to uppercase right so in our function avoid ማድረግ እንችላለን so in that case it performs better insignificant ሊሆን ይችላል if the data is ትንሽ ከሆነ ያለን data ማለት ነው but still it has an impact in a larger and then it says avoid star when you have star as it page all columns ሁሉም ቴብሎቹ ላይ ያሉትን እንዳለ ሪተርን ያደርገው so የሚያስፈልገንን ብቻ ሪትሪቭ ብናደርግ የተሻለ ፐርፎርም ያደርጋል ለምሳሌ ኦርደር አይተስማይ ኦርደር ዴት ምናምን ብቻ ከሆነ የሚያስፈልገን just specify that instead of using the star ማለት ነው avoid using upper which we talked about rewrite the word clause for date filtering use the date range to avoid a full table scan if order is a date type Alright, so I think that's you get the idea. There are a lot of things that we could do. So the other thing that we can ask ChatGPT is we can say, let's say for example, I can copy this, explain this meanable like አንዳንድ ጊዜ የማይገባን somebody የጻፈው ኮድ ሊሆን ይችላል አላ በደንብ ካልገባን it's gonna be it's hard to make adjustment or fix so we can ask ChatGPT to explain the query let's break down explain the query breakdown select clause በደንብ ነው explain now. This part of the query specifies the columns you want to retrieve in the database. Order ID, order table no, ከዚህ table no, ከዚህ table no, customer table no. And we have the from clause. Explain this specify the primary table from which the query retrieved. And then you have an alias with the orders table, and you have a join. You get the idea. It will explain in detail what the query is doing. So we have more understanding. Like it will explain it for us. And then it goes into a great length specifying. Assume you have following data in the orders and customers, right? With the sample data. ከዛ በኋላ the result of the query ይሄን return ያደርጋል based on so it is very helpful በጣም ይከብዳል እንደዚህ አይነት መልሶችን ለማግኘት ChatGPT can understand your prompt means the question that you ask ChatGPT ከዛ በኋላ explanation with a sample so sometimes sample ላይሰጣችሁ ይችላል እንደዚህ you can say oh give me a sample explain it with a sample data right in this case it already did it then እናንተ ስትፈልጉ you can just ask it if it didn't give you okay so what else can we do with ChatGPT መጠየቅ የምንችላቸው you can ask it to explain us a query to document a query we can say write በጣም ዲቴል explanation. So it's like documentation or SQL now. So if it is like በጣም ከበዛባችሁ you can say document the query in less than 500 or let's say 100 words. Right? Yeah, so that we don't have to have this level of detail in some of the kasfalagat. We have this option as well, right? You can say, oh, just explain it in less than 100 words, and then it did that. And then this. On the e-commerce DB table, database platform. Let's see if it remembers. I think it's not important, but it's not going to work because of this products. It's going to be, let's just fix it ourselves. But one of the things that you would do is ChatGPT has a option. You might have to fix it so it doesn't maybe like የከፈልኩበት ቢሆን ኖሮ maybe የተሻለ ሊሰራ ይችል ይሆናል ግን so you might have to do some adjustment like this. Okay, so now I'm going to just specifically ask one skill set, like what is database normalization, right? And it will give me a detail. Database normalization is this: avoid data redundancy, improve data integrity, and then it gives you with the example, and it goes through each normal form and then what to change. So it gives you a detailed information. It's still going, you know. So that's how you can take advantage of ChatGPT to learn about new skill sets. So how about you're trying to get ready for interviews, right? Let's just start with simple prompt. Give me 15 common SQL Server interview questions with answers. Let's see. So I asked it as some ጥያቄዎች like common interview ጥያቄ ላይ የሚጠየቁ SQL interview questionዎችን ስጠኝ ነው ያልኩት. Then it gave me a list, right? So the first question is, what is SQL Server? ለምሳሌ advanced ነገር ከፈለጋችሁ what is the 15 or 10 common SQL Server interview questions for senior SQL developer or for senior SQL administrator or database administrator. So you can make it specific to what you need to prepare for. What is a trigger? And then Kanam also. It's very helpful. Different isolation level. There's a transaction related. Was a difference group by and order by. How would you handle deadlocks in SQL Server with an answer? And in conclusion, let's try one more, and then we'll wrap it up. What are the best practices for writing efficient SQL and SQL Server? Some typo. So best practices for writing efficient SQL. Avoid select all. Use join instead of subqueries. Right? Use where clause efficiently. avoid using distinct and go by unnecessary. So it gives you a list up with examples. So that is a little bit helpful. So it's better than Google in my opinion. ከጉግል የተሻለ መልሶች ማግኘት እንችላለን እና የተሰጠንን ስራ በፍጥነት ለመጨረስ እንችላለን. We can use ChatGPT as your personal assistant to finish what you need to do quickly, and then with some guidance from ChatGPT. I think ለዛሬ በቃ በዚህ አመሰግናለሁ.